So images in the popular media of Neanderthals have changed drastically in the 150 years since we found the first fossils. From these lives, nasty, brutish, and short, to lives that may be indistinguishable from our own in terms of cognitive capabilities and culture. And a large part of this shift has to do with recent advancements in ancient D technology within the last 20 years. So Neanderthal research is very compelling and exciting for non-academics, especially Neanderthal research that uses ancient DNA. It's a very exciting topic. The conclusions are picked up and spread by popular science without proper consideration, or dare I say, any consideration of the limitations of the data and analyses that are actually underlying the conclusions being drawn. So for my master's thesis, I am going to be focusing on one particular conclusion that has been recently picked up and spread through popular science. And this is the idea that some modern human populations share more Neanderthal DNA than others. So this came out of from the Max Planck Institute from this big Neanderthal genome project in 2010. It's a very recent advancement that suggested that, well, what they do is so they look at chimpanzee data, Neanderthal data, and then 2 of 5 modern human populations, either African or non-African. And they're looking to see if one of the 2 modern human populations has more Neanderthal DNA than others. And what they found is if you compare 2 African groups, they look the same. And if you compare 2 non-African groups, they also look the same. But once you start comparing an African and a non-African group, you start to see some differences. And Green and their colleagues out of Svante Pääbo's Ancient DNA Lab have used this to say that there was a recent interbreeding event between our species and Neanderthals around 50,000 years ago as our species was leaving Africa, but before they made it up into Europe and Asia and Oceania. So the D statistic that they used to come up with this hypothesis, like all statistics, has a lot of limitations, and it doesn't really seem like we've properly evaluated these limitations. So for my research, I'm actually doing a two-step project to assess how secure we can actually be in this conclusion. So first, I'm going to take a modeling approach, and I'm going to simulate situations where we actually get false positives. So it looks like one modern human group is sharing more Neanderthal DNA than others, even when it's not actually the case, by changing things like mutation rate and population size. And once I figure out the situations that actually could result in these false positive results, I'll dive into the actual genomic data that was used to come up with these conclusions and assess how likely that these situations are in fact the case. So the popular media makes it sound like it's a fact that there was this recent interbreeding event between our species and Neanderthals. I just am hoping to kind of rein that in and see how secure we can really be. Thank you.